When pressure spikes, most leaders get louder, tighter, and less clear right when calm clarity matters the most. And that's when decision-making narrows, reactivity takes over, and long-term damage gets locked in. If you can't stay measured under stress, you'll keep defaulting to short-term control instead of long-term leverage. Pressure has its way of revealing who we are in the moment. It actually exposes our automatic reactions, our tone, our body language, and the emotions we thought that we had under control. And we've all had those moments when stress hit us extremely hard. Even though we tried to appear calm on the outside, inside we felt overwhelmed, frustrated, or even anxious. And as leaders, those moments matter because your team doesn't just hear your words. They actually feel your emotional state. Your emotional tone becomes the climate of the room. So if you're anxious, your team actually absorbs that anxiety. If you're short or tense, they move into a defense mode. But if you stay grounded and steady, your team finds stability in your presence. In this video, I'm going to give you 9 tools drawn from crisis psychology, emotional intelligence, and leadership best practice. So you lead with clarity under pressure, make smarter calls when it counts, and then build real trust when others can't. So let's get started. Payoff number 1, reframe the pressure from a threat to a challenge. Because if you change this one interpretation, your physiology will actually follow. Because when you use threat framing, it triggers the fight or flight and creates rigid thinking. But when you use challenge framing, it actually preserves access to judgment. This is actually a cognitive reappraisal that labels stress as useful energy for performance. So, name the stress, state the goal, and then say, this is a challenge worth solving, and then use the change in that energy. Payoff number 2, you must build cognitive flexibility. And if you can generate 3 good explanations, you'll avoid your worst decision. Did you actually know that single lens thinking creates costly doubling down under pressure? Deliberately shifting your lenses, whether thinking through the lens of the customer, the operator, financial, ethical, you begin to widen your options. So I'm going to give you a 3x3 drill. List 3 causes, 3 constraints, 3 viable plays that create solutions. And when you list those 3 causes, these are actually the root reasons the problem is happening. So an example would be if a team is missing deadlines. Maybe they have lack of clarity, poor communication, unreasonable workload. And this forces you to identify what's really driving the issue, not just the symptoms. But then you must list 3 constraints. And when you think about constraints, these are the limitations that you must work within. What you can't change right now. And thinking about examples of this would be possibly limited staffing, budget caps, and time pressure. This acknowledges reality so solutions stay practical and not just idealistic. Then list 3 viable plays, 3 viable solutions. And these are 3 realistic actions that you can take next. For example, maybe we can reprioritize tasks with the team, or having short daily huddles for clarity. Temporary workload redistribution may help. And this shifts your mind from pressure to actually action. Payoff number 3, stay in your circle of influence. This will cut your worry load by half just in under a minute. Why? Because you're burning cycles on uncontrollable that actually drains execution. I'm going to say that again. Because burning cycles on uncontrollables drains execution. So begin to partition the facts into control, influence, and observe. On a whiteboard, develop those 3 columns and then move tasks to control to influence, and then schedule your actions for your influence, and then utilize the observe column for review dates to validate that you're making progress. Payoff number 4, clarify must-win battles. When everything is urgent, nothing actually is. Competing fires fragment attention and team effort. So create a short list of maybe 1 to 3 items that if you won now will actually stabilize the system. And then define success metric plus the owner of it and the first irreversible step for each. Decide how you will know if that solution is working. What does success actually look like in a measurable way? I'm going to give you an example of this. So maybe success would equal reducing patient complaints by 20% in 30 days. And then you assign the owner of it. Choose the person responsible for making that solution happen. Not a group, but one clear owner. Maybe it's the nurse manager or whoever you identify. And then identify the first irreversible step. Ask the question, what is the first action we must take that officially moves this forward and cannot be undone? Because that forces commitment. Then send communication to the staff launching the new process. Once that is sent, your change is now in motion. Payoff number 5, the wait to act principle. Higher stakes create slower moves, or they should. Immediate reactions cascade panic and then lock in bad paths. So a rule to think about, the higher the stakes, the longer the deliberate pause. Maybe you could institute the 10-30-24 cadence. 10 breaths, so slow your breaths, a 30-minute cooling window in a high-ticket item or a hot item that requires a decision, and possibly a 24-hour check-in for irreversible decisions, so taking your time. Payoff number 6, build a calm advisory bench. Borrow other people's nervous systems. Be diverse and create a steady counsel which it will expand your options and dampen the emotional responses. And you can do this by adding 3 to 5 advisors with complementary expertise and high emotional quotient who challenge and not cheerlead. Then predefine the call trigger in their roles. Maybe there's the so-called devil's advocate or somebody that's looking at the other side, and the operator and the communicator. And then have a 15-minute crisis huddle template that you can go by standard. Payoff number 7, break big problems into executable chunks. Solve the solvable today. Because a solve-it-all thinking paralyzes, but when you break it into chunks, it restores momentum. Write the problem statement. Split it into 4 work streams. Assign the single owner. Test with 48-hour deliverables. Payoff number 8, lead with emotional intelligence under fire. 4 skills that stabilize any room, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. And those are self-awareness, self-management, self-awareness with empathy, and relationship management. How we do that is we create a trigger map and a post-mortem journal. So in the trigger map, what did I feel? How did that make me feel? What were my triggers? And then what did it cost? So breaking it down. And then starting to use self-management in labeling the feeling, choosing the replacement behavior, and using reset cues. And one could be take it one step at a time. And then we go back into social awareness where we have active listening, or we paraphrase, and then we validate, and then we clarify, and then we ask. And then there's relationship management. Look at the situation, determine the behaviors and the impact, and then the next steps we're taking within 24 to 48 hours. Payoff number 9, address the conflict early with respect. So unspoken conflict silently drains hours of energy and productivity. When tension isn't addressed, it steals time, damages trust, and slows execution. So create a team standard of addressing issues quickly, respectfully, and directly. Set a rule, we're going to address this tension within 48 hours. Don't just let it sit. Use the SBI method, which is situation, behavior, and impact, to discuss it, and then agree on a joint plan with a clear owner again, a deadline, and a follow-up check. Under pressure, composure is a skill. So reframe the moment, focus your influence, and slow your moves, and lead with emotional intelligence. If this video has helped, hit subscribe for more videos like this, and drop a comment below with the toughest pressure scenario that you've ever faced. As we serve together, Dr. Jeff.